Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The number of COVID-19 cases worldwide now exceeds 10 million. That's according to the Johns Hopkins University. The situation continues to worsen in Brazil, where the health ministry announced more than 30,000 new cases in only one day, while the total number of deaths is nearing 60,000. Brazil now has the second highest number of cases and the second highest death toll in the world after the United States, but the number of daily new infections is twice as high than the US. Despite the rising numbers, the city of Rio de Janeiro decided to reopen its economic activities over the weekend. India is reporting a similar trend, where the health ministry in New Delhi announced that almost 20,000 new cases have been recorded in one day. This is the biggest single-day spike in new infections in the country so far. India counts now more than 500,000 cases of coronavirus and more than 16,000 deaths. In the UK, the government is considering imposing a lockdown in the city of Leicester after a surge of coronavirus cases there. The British government has recently been easing restrictions to get the stagnant economy moving, and this would be the first implementation of new restrictive measures since then. And there's something similar in Australia, where the state of Victoria is considering reimposing social distancing restrictions after the local government reported its biggest one-day rise in new infections in more than 2 months. Gunmen have attacked the Pakistan Stock Exchange building in the city of Karachi, killing 2 guards and a policeman before security forces killed all 4 of the attackers. Separatist insurgents from the Balochistan province claimed responsibility for the attack in a post on Twitter. The Pakistan Stock Exchange did not suspend trading during the attack. Separatists have been fighting for years in the Balochistan region, complaining about the exploitation of its rich natural resources by Pakistan's richer provinces. The UK and the European Union have resumed talks on a trade deal that will replace the ties severed by Brexit. The EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, and his British counterpart, David Frost, met in Brussels for the first time face-to-face since the beginning of the pandemic in Europe in March. Britain and the EU have intensified talks, but with only a few months until a deal must be reached, the sides still remain far apart. The transitional period during which the UK remains in the EU single market and the customs union expires at the end of the year. Heavy rainstorms have triggered massive floods in southwestern China, where at least 12 people have been killed and 10 remain missing. The government of the Sichuan province announced it has evacuated almost 8,000 people and rescue efforts are still underway. Meanwhile, heavy downpours over the weekend in central China's Hebei province have affected more than 650,000 people in 24 cities and counties. At least 23 ferry passengers have been killed in the Bangladesh capital Dhaka after the vessel sank due to a collision. The boat had around 50 passengers aboard when it capsized in the Buriganga River that runs along the southwest suburbs of the capital. The dead include 6 women and 3 children. Malawi's new president says the rerun election was a victory for democracy and justice after he was sworn in following his historic win.
Elected as president of the Republic.
Lazarus Chakwera won the ballot with nearly 60% of the vote, according to the Electoral Commission. The Commission also dismissed claims from the incumbent Mutharika of voting irregularities, including violence and intimidation against his election monitors. In his acceptance speech, Chakwera said he and his cabinet would work to restore a new generation's faith in having a government that serves, not a government that rules. Somalia's electoral chief has called for the parliamentary and presidential elections to be postponed until August 2021. The chairperson of the commission said that issues such as lack of funds, insecurity, flooding and the coronavirus pandemic had disrupted the commission's work. The parliamentary election was scheduled for November 2020, while the presidential election was expected to be held in February 2021. They were to be the country's first one-person, one-vote elections for 50 years. There are also elections in Poland, where, according to the exit polls, the incumbent president, Andrzej Duda, would be winning the first round. The re-election of Duda, a known ally of the ruling Nationalist Party Law and Justice, is considered key for the government to implement their conservative agenda, including reforms the EU says undermine the independence of the judiciary and erode the normal democratic system. And finally, the Italian Coast Guard has saved a rare sperm whale trapped in an illegal tangled fishing net off the coast of Lipari in Sicily. Sightings of sperm whales are a rare event in the Mediterranean Sea, and marine biologists consider this rescue being fundamental for the protection of the species. To make the event even more exceptional, the animal was accompanied by 3 more sperm whales, which he joined after being freed unharmed. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.